Legends Atron here. Today I'm going to go through an in-depth explanation of what is actually required for Minnow bombing, focusing on guild wars, the skill levels, heroes needed, and a simple formula to easily work out if your Minnow is actually ready to smash. So with the new update, there came traits and equipment talents which have increased people's chances to be ready to Minnow bomb. You can get extra damage from the skills, you can get extra damage from the traits. So we'll go over those a little bit more in a sec, but in Guild Wars, I'll hit top 5 most of the time, and the most common question I get asked is, do you think my Minnow is ready to bomb? I'm too scared to Minnow bomb because I think he's only this level, or I think he's only this much inscribed. So it doesn't really matter what all that is. There's no set amount for anything. It's a combination of everything that you can work out and decide whether or not that your Minnow can reach the requirements for that. But before we look at Minnow, let's look at what Minnow's trying to destroy, which is the Town Hall here. And let's just assume everything is capped, so everything's max 25, and at Town Hall 25 there is 280k health. Highest HP of any building, even an arrow tower with level 7 blues only has 255k. So the aim of the game is to ideally have your Minnow doing more damage than 280k. And then if that's the case, I just wanted to note, which is important before I go on, that Town Hall 25 only has 48 buildings. So, you can look at plus maybe 6 ground heroes, 7 if you include Beast Tamer, which is 55 targets. Minnow's skill at 10 hits 55 targets, so that's when we come to our first requirement. He should probably be skill 10, as just a bare minimum to make things as easy as possible. It'll, make your experience a lot smoother. You might walk away from this explanation at the end and go, oh, I can probably try it with skill 9, and I'd say, yeah, go for it, but it's obviously a little bit more risky not being able to hit every single target on the base, being 55 targets, 55 buildings, etc. Makes sense. So, and I just wanted to clear up that while I'm talking about this, I'm assuming that there's no troops on any of the bases. So that's the easiest thing, just to assume there. I'll do a different video maybe on how to get rid of troops. And Minnow only attacks ground units, so if there's any flying units or dragons, that's fine too. They won't count when you're going to Minnow bomb a base. So moving on to, I made it up of 7 elements that are, making Minnow go boom. And first there is the damage stat. So the base damage stat, which if you click on the helmet over here, you'll see, 2 figures, 8,000 and 8,600 in the green. The one that's not green, 8,128 there, it is just what Minnow is at 200 double evolve. That's his damage. So the green there is made up only of inscriptions, inscription crest inlaid damage, see that 700 mark, and trait damage. So that's all that's made up of. If you had a bulwark crest there, and the bulwark crest had 800 damage, and had a bonus of whatever it is, 16% at level 4, let's say, it's not included. It only comes into play once you hit battle. So that's the first element. The second element, moving on, is the War God talent. It adds 90%. The third element is a trait skill, which is, for me, is Victory Lunge, adding an extra 25% at 5 of 5. So the fourth element is the Mino Proc damage itself, which is 230% damage. So once you add those first 4 elements together, you get what your Minnow will do at, walking out to a building. So if I do the math for you, let's just assume for easy sakes that this base damage for Minnow is just 16,500. Just keep it nice and easy. So if we went 16,500, times 90%, which is times 1.9, times your Victory Lunge 1.25, times your proc damage of 230% or 2.3 when you're punching it on the calculator, you're going to get about 90k. So if Minnow walks to a building, has no one else around, and he procs, he's doing 90k damage. So then you come to the 5th, 6th, and 7th elements. So, and retrospectively, they are Cupid, Mike, and PD. So if you quickly add up all of those, Cupid at skill 10, and just assume everything is max as well here, guys. Cupid skill 10, Mike skill 10, and PD skill 10, it's 65%, 60%, and 50%. So 55% for PD. If you do all that sum together and based on my Mino, you get a massive, like all 7 elements, you get a massive damage of 368k. It's huge. So it's well above, you know, that 280k proc. Now I'll put this little formula down in the description for you guys, so you can go through and have a look. But it's, you know, the requirements, as I said, have been lowered, and the window of what you actually need has been lowered also. But let's break down that damage even further, you know, to find out what the minimum requirement is, rather than, you know, whatever my Mino is doing. So if you start with, you know, Cupid, for example, here, and the idea of this is to, you know, turn Mino bombing into a one-shot proc trick. So, you know, you want Mino to walk to a building and you want him to flatten a base. That's it. Like, you want him to walk in, walk out, and you're all done. So, not so much focusing on the damage that Cupid gives here, well, not at first anyway, but focus on the utility his skill brings to make everyone instant proc. Now, when I run Mino bombing, I run him with a, you know, a crest 3 set. So, like, you know, when Mino procs, he's going to boost him to 100% energy and he's going to proc. It's, you know, most people know that, it's pretty straightforward. But, you know, at skill 10 for Cupid, over here, he's going to have 65 energy increase. So you only need any hero to have a level 2 Revite set, and then they will proc instantly, whether or not it be Mino, PD, or Mike, whether or not they have a talent or a crest. For them to proc when Cupid procs, all they need is a level 2 or above at Cupid level 10. So then, if he's level 9, for example, you haven't quite got to 10, you know, it's a lot of shards to waste. Everyone just has to be level 3 Vite set above, and you can have Cupid at level 9 for that instant proc. So why this is important, you know, is because you don't normally have time for Mino to hit a couple of buildings these days, not in the top bases anyway. So, you know, with Gunslinger, you know, AIDS, Copters, you really don't have the luxury to kind of have Cupid, you know, hit 3 times on an army camp, because he's going to lose energy fairly quickly anyway, which is, you know, he needs to be 5 Vite for this to work smoothly and seamlessly. It can be done with a 4 Vite if the base, you know, is alright, a bit of lower bases, but really he needs to be 5 Vite for it to work properly. You know, moving on to Mike and PD, they're pretty straightforward. They're just damage buffers. You know, Mike's really nice to have a 5 Vite. You just don't have to worry about it. He's instant proc, so long as you drop Mino first, you're happy days. But again, if he's not, you know, and you just got to match him up with Cupid's skill, whether or not he's got a 2, 3, or 4 Vite crest set or a talent, just match that up so you know Cupid is going to make him proc instantly. You know, lastly, PD, I left PD to last because, you know, since traits have come out, he's actually not necessarily needed to Mino bomb anymore. Now, if we look at, you know, all of the first 6 elements that I was talking about, if you just go down to the description, you'll be able to see, like, just in order what they are. You know, the reason people will be able to do it without PD is if you take all of that, you know, Mino at 16k flat damage, you add those first 6 elements together, so you've got, you know, the Mino traits, the War God, the equipment, all that jazz. He hits, at 16k, he hits a flat 230k damage without a PD. So that's huge damage. And now, why that's important is even Town Hall 25 is 280, which is, you know, it's more than 230, but at Town Hall 24, sorry, the HP is 230k. So this is why you're seeing a lot of bases think that, you know, yeah, you don't have to use PD, or you don't have to use PD and you can have like 2 extra cleanup crew, like a DD or a Tree with Doom Balloon, or a Nick, you know, something that hits lots of targets straight away on drop. So, that's interesting. I might go into further detail in a different video about why PD is not there or necessarily needed, but it's very cool now that these traits have come out, what's actually possible. So, you know, easiest way to tell if, you know, if the Town Hall is a 25 is it'll have 5 army camps. It might not have 5 army camps. I know a couple of top players, they don't tend to actually build all 5, because it offers, you know, they're sticking out here and it just offers more space for the buildings to be hidden. So, I mean, a 5 Vite cube will just proc on any one of these little buildings over here. It's not hard. So, I could, you know, Mino bomb my base fairly easy. It's not a task, but my might's not quite high enough for really worrying about that. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. It's a bit of a rant on what it is, but if you pretty much go through those steps and you add up, you know, your base damage, just to recap, you know, you add up your base damage, you add up whatever your War God talent is, or whatever your buffer is in your talent Warlock or War God, you add up. Don't forget the proc damage as well, you know, that's probably the biggest one. And you know, you get then your different heroes, your Mike and your Cupid, and you might find that you can easily test it out. Now, you know, testing it out is fairly simple. Like I'll just show you really quickly. Okay, so I went into Expedition and I didn't really like the outcome, so I've re-recorded this section really quickly, and I'm just going to use the exact heroes that I would use in Guild Wars. So they're my 6 that I would normally use. And if we go in, at the moment, Mino has a 3-vite set. So these are dream bases, and this is a really good way to just get your timing right. So the way I would, exactly how I would drop it in Guild Wars is I would drop my nub normally first, just to get rid of those troops. I would drop the PD, he's going to be 3-vite. I'd drop the Mino, I'd drop the Mike, and then I'd drop the Cupid last, right? And that's your simple. Obviously, sometimes you might not have that long, but that's the order. And the reason I look at dropping nub first, or Anubis, nub, whatever you want to call him, is because then all I get to do is tap my heroes along. So we go, you know, for example, nub, PD, Mino a little bit further away from the buildings, Mike and Cupid. Like it's all bam, 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 bam. It's really easy to drop. So if you can arrange your heroes to be aligned in that way, I know it's really, I wish IGG would allow us to swap them around, because it would make especially dungeon drops and Guild War drops a lot easier. But you know, the idea is Nub is going to be dropped away. He doesn't need to proc anything. He's 5-vite at the moment, so he doesn't really need to touch anything. You know, you could just set PD in a corner. Mino always away from a building if you can, so he has time to run up. And then Cupid just on a small building. You know, all of these bases are going to be 100%, no question. Like, I haven't even been using DD lately for cleanup, because as I was mentioning earlier, he's so overpowered at the moment. Granted, these bases are super easy, but the idea and the drop method is still there. So, you know, Nub away from a building, PD close, Mino away from a building, Mike and Cupid. Doesn't matter where Mike gets dropped, Cupid can get dropped on top, and then Cupid will proc and Mino will walk to that building fully charged with a PD stack, a Mike stack, and all of his other inbuilt gadgets and elements that I was talking about. So we'll just, if I don't use Nub, for example, like the difference in speed, it's not that much difference, but the difference in speed, you know, you go PD, Mino, Mike, Cupid. So, and you'll see he just walks up, and that's the only 4 you need. I only ever use Nub to clear troops, really, and just to tank that first GS gunslinger in the top bases and whatnot. Let's not use PD this time, just in this last one, and we'll see, for example, like we're talking about. So we'll drop Mino up the top there, Mike and Cupid, and then, oh, he didn't proc one. Oh, GS, that's annoying. That's super annoying. Alright, so that was failed. That didn't work out very well, guys. Do note that the higher the base damage on a Mino here, so, you know, 8,000, it's actually not that high. Like, if I change this crest set, for example, to, you know, what have we got here? Mech Tessa, she's got a 5 on her, and we put it on Mino over here at level 5, the base, or the bonus damage, I should say, jumps up. So, you know, you've got now 2,500, and where that was 700 before. So all of a sudden, he's got 18,000 instead of 16,000. Now, you think that might not be a big difference, but when you're calculating everything on the smallest amount, at the bottom, so 16 to, you know, 2,000 at the bottom, and then you're timesing everything on top of it. I think I worked it out, you know, me changing from 16 to 18,000 ends up being, you know, a 370k proc to like a 470k proc. That's the kind of difference you're looking at. So try and figure out what the best set is going to be. If you can spare like a 4 vite instead of a 3 vite, you know, is just sitting there, go for the higher one because it'll give you more damage in what you can do. So, but yeah, must probably use a revite of some sort. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the video, and leave a comment if you would like. Enjoy.